Hello and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a hot minute and don't mind that little stain, it's from my kitties. I know it's been a hot minute since I posted a video, but I am back and I am going to do a comparison video. So I drew this drawing of me and my friend and I am going to print it off and we are going to compare two different sets of markers. One being my classic favorite Copics, and the other one being pen and gear dual end markers. Now, I picked these up at Walmart. I think they were about $25. They have a bullet nib and a chisel nib, and this is 48 of them. They never did specifically say on the packaging whether they were alcohol markers or not, but they did in fact blend like alcohol markers. And there's quite a wide assortment, but from the looks of it, they do seem to be heavily saturated and not a lot of light tones. But the barrel is square. It is kind of big, but we've got our bullet nib and it is marked by the line, and our chisel nib. So I'm gonna go and swatch some of these and then get to drawing. So here are the two pictures. I had scanned them, copied them, whatever, you can see. And I grabbed a sheet of paper that was the same kind as the one I'd printed them off, just so that way I can see, you know, colors react differently on different papers. But here it is on, here's the swatches. I only record myself doing like 3 swatches because if I'm being honest, it would be so boring for you guys to sit there and watch me swatch 48 colors. That'd be crazy. So here is the final swatches. Yeah, they mostly match their marker caps. Some of them are actually lighter than their marker caps, which was pretty nice. But as you can see, the lightest colors we've got is this yellow here and this warm gray 0.5. So, I mean, I do love the colors that they do have, so let's see if I can create something with it. So here I am with the finished swatches, and as, I don't know if you can tell, but in the last little clip, I actually filmed that after drawing all of this. So anyway, but here I do go and just test to see how well some of them blend, and they blended better than I expected them to, but not great. I feel like the 3 colors I chose right there, they actually did blend pretty well. It kind of takes a lot of back and forth, and if you've ever used alcohol markers with a brush tip, you'd know that it makes it, like, I feel like 100 times easier to blend because you can like flick it, so then you have a concentrated portion of ink on one side and not as much as the other. Makes it really easy to blend. But anyway, here we are working into the drawing. So this drawing, I actually started it a long time ago, and it was kind of a joke between my friend and I. We were joking about our villain origin stories and whatever, and so this was supposed to be us as villains. I do color her in not a super villainy color scheme, and that is mostly just because I wanted to use some brighter colors, and I didn't want to only use the grays. So here I am. I'm going to talk now about the coloring. They actually laid down, the markers did, they laid down really well, I thought. Like a one flat motion, whatever. It just looked really nice. My only complaint was there are no skin tones. So they were the browns, the one brown at least the kind of medium tone brown was very orange, which isn't terrible, but when you're trying to draw skin, it's not good. But I did, and then they didn't have a darker brown for the hair. It was just, my friend's skin is not this dark, and so I was a little sad that I couldn't quite, do her justice, but it is what it is. It was all right. I did notice too that the bullet nib is kind of thick. So I had some trouble getting into more detailed place, like the hair around those little earrings. And I added pink in the hair. I like that, especially since I didn't have a lighter brown to kind of blend into that. I just used the pink, and I knew I kind of wanted pink elsewhere in, and I like the pink on her cheeks and whatever, just kind of one color to kind of unify everything. And I tried to darken it up, the brown a bit with that, the dark warm gray color. It kind of worked, but I did notice that these colors did layer pretty, like, with each other pretty well. They did not layer with other colors that well. They kind of just turned muddy, which I've noticed a lot of alcohol-based markers that aren't Copic, they kind of do that. I feel like the colors don't lay as nice together. And the yellow was pretty bright, and I do prefer, I might be a little biased, but I prefer more muted colors to super bright colors. So I did try to keep that in mind when comparing the two pieces, because obviously with the Copics, I was able to choose colors that weren't near as saturated, I guess. But I did try to stick as close as I could. And this was the lightest blue. And that frustrated me to no end, this little detailing on her shirt. So the shirt was supposed to have kind of a Sistine Chapel look, kind of painterly, soft, maybe kind of running together, but all the colors were so dark and so saturated that I didn't quite get that effect that I was looking for. It is what it is. I was doing so well. I was like, wow, I'm actually really impressed with these, until I got to the shirt, and then I was like, wow, they are okay. But yeah, and it took me twice as long to color this version versus the Copic version. The chisel tip was so fat. It was so fat. It was too big. And these were even bigger than I normally draw too, so yeah, I don't know. They were very juicy, is the word I want to use. Not sure. Kind of makes me feel a little weird to be using that word, but that's kind of what it is. Juicy. They had lots and lots of ink. Between the fact that the barrels were so big and that the bullet nib was not as big as a brush nib and it had no give to it, it was very hard, my hand was cramping so bad. And my hands don't usually cramp when I draw. That's not something that happens to me very much, but it did. It happened, and it hurt. It was awful. I think when I was editing the video, I think it took me, if you can hear the squeaking in the background or like that noise like this, I don't know. It's my chair, okay? It's very noisy. But, anyway, yeah, my hand was hurting so bad. I've never had that happen before. It was awful. Terrible, terrible. But, yeah, see, I've got to go, and it does go over, like, it layers with itself very well. And so I could go over it, like, a few times to kind of get rid of the marker lines and stuff, but, oh, no, okay, editing the video. I was editing the video, and comparatively, the time it took me to color this drawing versus the time it took me to color the Copic drawing was ridiculous. This one took me half an hour, almost 40 minutes. The Copic drawing took me 15 minutes. Just goes to show what that brush nib can do. Oh, so nice. But here I decided to do a little bit of an ombre. I really... it's supposed to mimic, later I go in with a white gel pen and I add in, like, sequins, because it's supposed to be kind of heavily sequined there by her shoulders and at her waist. And then the sequins were going to taper out and fade. And so I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a bit of a, kind of, showcase the blending of these markers a little bit and do a little bit of an ombre fade. And it would have been awesome. I did like that the colors were bright. The one was bright, the middle tone color. The one I had originally chosen and colored the top with was kind of desaturated, and I was really kind of digging that color, but they didn't have that pink I didn't think it looked that fluorescent, but once I colored it at the bottom, oh man, that shit was fluorescent pink. I was not as happy with that pink. It blended pretty nicely. There wasn't one to fit in the middle. They definitely, with Copics, you can do the feathering technique, which is where you flick the nib out, and you can kind of blend two colors that are pretty far away from each other. Like one that's kind of dark and kind of light. It might not be perfect, but you can do it. With these ones, you definitely kind of needed that middle tone a little bit. Like, I would not have been able to blend that light pink with the dark. And even then, the light pink was having trouble blending into that more medium tone one. I go over it a few times. But overall, like, I was still really happy with how it was turning out. And I use the darkest to color that inside. I kind of like to do that. I don't want the back portion of the skirt, where you're seeing the inside, to distract from the stuff that's kind of, in the front. And even throughout this whole piece, I was a little frustrated with the shirt. But after coloring this like overcoat thing, I was so happy. I was like, oh man, these are looking good. Like, even though you could see like marker lines and I had to kind of go over it a little bit, overall, I was very happy with how it was looking until I got to the pants. And part of it is also my fault, because I feel like I didn't know what color I wanted to color the pants. But it was a hot mess. It was a wreck. There just wasn't many light colors. I was thinking maybe light, thinking maybe dark. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll color it with the light gray. And then I will go through, and I do add like a bit of blue to it at one point, but I was trying to do the light gray and then blending with the dark gray to kind of make it almost look like shiny. They would not blend. I could not get them to blend together. Oh, there I am. I was watching YouTube while I was doing this, but I could not get them to blend together whatsoever. I was having a horrible, horrible time getting these to blend. So I ended up just saying F it, and I colored them all the dark, dark gray. But I will go quiet right now. I have not much else to say on this, so I'm just going to let the speed paint roll for a bit. So, as you can tell, you can see my little fit where I just decided to color the pants dark. And then I had wanted to color the boots a lighter color because it was kind of dark on dark on dark at this point, but I wanted them brown, and because I just wasn't feeling the blue. That was the other color I was thinking, blue or brown. I decided to go with brown, and that might have been a mistake. I don't know, but it ended up just looking really dark, like dark on dark on dark. It was definitely not ideal, I'd say. Yeah, I was unhappy with this. So that is something I do change in the Copic version to just kind of, I wanted them light, so I colored them a lighter color, even though it was nowhere near the color of these boots in this one. And that was just kind of like, I don't know, you get a bad rating if you don't have a decent amount of colors. So if you don't have light colors or skin tone colors, because that's also kind of what they would be, a light brown, you get a bad rating. I don't actually end up rating these in the end. I can rate them for you right now. Copics, 10 out of 10. I love them. Personally, I want more. I have a relatively small collection, but these, I would definitely have to give them maybe a solid 5 out of 10. I don't know. That's still pretty decent, just because I don't want to shit on them, because honestly, I wish when I had first started coloring with markers, these were the markers I had. Because I had these really garbage ones from Barnes & Noble. And now the garbage ones from Barnes & Noble, first off, they're expensive. And I think there was only like 24 of them. They were expensive. And they did have a brush nib, but it was heavy. Those were even juicier than this. And it was like, the nibs like couldn't possibly contain the ink, and they just bled all over everything. So they ran out really fast. Whereas these ones, I felt like lots and lots of ink. They did feel nice. Like I feel like I could have done another how many drawings with them. I feel like I could have filled a page with just ink from these pens. So back to the drawing though. I am adding my details with my white gel pen now. And I do cut out a little bit of it because once I start adding the details to her dress, you don't need to see me do that for 5 minutes. So there I am doing the sequins. And then it jumps to the finished product. So there she is. I loved how it looked though in the end. It was just good. I love this drawing, and so it was good. Here I am though. I am just testing, some colors similar to Copic's or just the ones that I want. And now you can see me side by side compare the Copic's to the pen and gear markers. For starters, I have a very nice color that matches my friend's skin tone, so I started with that. And not gonna lie, I didn't think the markers were that terrible until I picked up the Copic. When I picked up the Copic, oh man, that brush nib just glided across the page. It was so smooth, because the other ones, like, they weren't awful. Like, I keep saying that. I keep flipping back and forth between they were terrible, they were horrible, and then they were also not bad. But I just didn't realize how hard the nib was and how much it was going across the paper until I was coloring with my Copics. And they did blend nicer, but it was just nice. I just knew what I was doing. And I'm sure if I had practiced more with these markers or have used them, I'm sure there are people who can be really great with these. It wasn't me, definitely. And I'm not giving up on these yet. I will be doing comparison videos between these pen and gear markers and like Crayola, because I definitely feel like they will be decent then, because the saturation, the blendability will definitely come in handy compared to Crayola. And anyway, back to the drawing. So here I was coloring the Sistine Chapel-esque shirt. I don't know, was it Ariana Grande who wore that one dress for like a Met Gala or something? I don't know, and had like the like cherubs painted on it. Kind of like that. But anyway, I was able to use my pale porcelain blue. That was one of my first Copic markers. I think I owned 3 Copic markers right away. It was pale porcelain blue, blush, and I can't remember the third one. Might have been a skin tone. Not sure. Anyway, but that marker has been through it. Yeah, it was... Actually, I had ended up throwing away my first one because I didn't realize that Copics could be refilled. So I threw it away. And then for Christmas, my friend bought me that exact color because she had loved it. And we like made fun of it every day. And so, yeah, anyway. This friend, in fact, the one that I am drawing. And then I was able... Okay, so moving back to the picture, back to her hair. Oh, man, the little flicks with the brush pen. Oh, God. After not having one, I didn't realize how attached to it which did kind of make me realize that I do think I need to branch out, try some other markers, try other ways of coloring, because I shouldn't be so reliant on just the brush nib. Kind of I don't know, like, get really good at it, you love it, but then you can't use anything else. And I used a less saturated yellow as well for the gold. I just didn't want the gold to be so yellow. Like, it was supposed to be not a part of the color scheme. I don't know. When you're thinking of outfits, you don't necessarily take into account that the color of your jewelry is also one of the colors you're wearing. Yeah, you just kind of think, oh, well, I'm going to wear either gold or silver with this. That's what it's supposed to be, but with the other one, the yellow was so bright. Just so yellow. Yeah, anyway. And I was able to find a color very close, which is one of the reasons why I did pick that color in the other drawing to begin with. I had similar ones to Copic. So now the one I did choose, as much as I liked the desaturated one of the pen and gear, I actually did like it. better, brighter in the Copics, and they just laid down so much flatter. I had a grand old time coloring this baby. I just was able to know what I was doing, and so I picked a desaturated pink for the bottom because the other one was fluorescent, and I didn't want it to be that bright. Didn't want the hem of her little gown to be like a focal point. That was not supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a frame for the rest of her. But anyway, since I know what I'm doing for the Copic one, I have nothing else to say right this moment. I am going to let it play. You're not done with me yet. Anyway, another thing I loved about my Copics is I had colors that were able to, even if they weren't super close, super great matches, such as this purple, it was a little dark, I was able to blend it to the point where I needed it, to the point where I wanted it to look nice with the picture, whereas the other one, the inks, I noticed they didn't always blend the best. What they did was push each other around. And that, it isn't necessarily what you want for your artwork. Like I said, I feel like these would be really good for more, art styles with a little less color blending, maybe. Yeah, anyway. And here one of my Copics was running out, so I take a second and I go and I refill it, and then it is as good as new. And it is nice and juicy, which is what I love. I love new Copics, new markers. They're the best. And I was able to layer the blue over the gray very well, because I did want to, I'm still not set on when I go to color the original piece. I'm not set what color I will do everything yet, but I did want to mimic the other one, so I did kind of do what I was trying to do in the other one, in this one, which was lay down the gray, color it with blue to mix the two colors, and it actually ended up looking really cute. I really did like it, and I liked having the darker blue in the shadows, and I liked kind of what it did to that. And here I do go and I color the boots. I wanted them light to match the light shirt because everything else was a little darker, and this was something that could not be accomplished with the other drawing. But I love looking at them side by side. My Copic one, my baby. The other one doesn't look awful. The worst part is definitely that shirt. It did not color well. I think maybe if I was going to do it again, but kind of play to the strengths of the Pen and Gear markers, I definitely would have just colored it a solid color. And if I wanted details to stick out, go in again, maybe so like take the blue, color it all blue, wait for it to dry, kind of settle in, and then color the sky again with the same blue or slightly darker blue. So then just like the clouds and the angels stick out a little bit, play to the strengths where they don't color well, but they layer well with the same color. Okay. Didn't make sense. They don't blend well with other colors, but with the same color, they layer nice. So a way to play to their strengths. And I just go and I do add some finishing touches here. I do add a bit of orange to the shadows, to kind of liven her skin up a bit. because obviously you don't want the whole thing orange, but having a little hint of orange in the shadows is where it's at. That's good stuff. Things I'm slowly learning. And because these were printed, I go in with a marker I did for the other one, and I darken up her eyelashes, fill them in, because I don't always fill them in before they're colored, because I don't want like a big chunk of black. I add some finishing touches to the gold, and I do go and I add the white highlights, and I add the white sequins to her dress, and then she is done as well. So there she is, done. And then there they are, still side by side. Oh man, they do both look so cool side by side. I love looking at them. It's beautiful. So here are my final thoughts. Okay, and now that we're done and we have these sitting side by side, it is time for some final comparisons. So overall, yes, these markers were just heavily saturated. There just wasn't enough light colors. Like this piece on her chest here, the kind of undershirt was supposed to have kind of a Sistine Chapel lightness, painterly look to it. And once you layered the colors, they kind of just turned muddy. It'd definitely be really good for flat coloring, but layering did not go so well. Sometimes they did blend pretty nicely, but the choices of colors, like the different colors they had, just didn't make for very smooth blending, unlike Copic. But I mean, overall, it is perfect for beginners, I'd say. They're cheap, you get a lot of them. They've got nice colors, and I do like this container a lot because it's got the handle and it latches. They sit up straight. You could probably even, like lay them down. And so they'd be really great for beginners. But I think, though, the biggest thing I did not like about them was just the fact that they're so fat that my hand cramped. So I do love the shape of the Copics. When I was coloring with those, I kind of felt like I was coloring with big fat kid crayons, and so my hand hurt so bad by the end of it. But tell me what you think. And like I said, I bought these at Walmart with all their back to school stuff, which I know was a long time ago, but I thank you so much for watching my video. And if you enjoy and you want to see me color the next one, come back next week.